It's Skeeter with Experience Wild, and welcome to the Roam Shoot Podcast. Today we have with us Adam Miller from Bowhunter Chronicles. Adam, how are you today?
Good. Doing well.
Fantastic, man. Adam, what are we doing today? What are we talking about today, brother?
Well, I in the group chat going back and forth, I don't know what you were talking about. Something that was probably cooking up groundhogs and trapping nutria rats.
Yeah, something.
With a coffee can or something like that. I don't know. But I was like, oh, in my squirrel brain, it was like, this is what we need to talk about. We need to talk about truck guns.
Okay.
We need to talk about truck guns because you're one of those guys who, you've got, I've been in your studio, I've been in your basement, I've seen, what it looks like to have, stuff laying around, and you're like, oh my gosh, this guy's got a lot of guns. You're like, oh, let me just open this up.
Yeah.
And then, oh, there's the rest of them. And that's just the ones that didn't get lost in the boating accident.
That's it.
Whatever. And so, there's a lot of different, use cases, thought processes, depending on where you live, depending on the thickness of your tinfoil hat, depending on,
for sure,
your occupation, your past history, lots of different things. So, I was just curious. I think it's a good, talking point. And, I'd imagine if you're listening to this, you're probably familiar with the idea of a truck gun. But to you, what does that mean?
So there's a couple of different ways to look at it. I think that you're right. I am in that category of people that I have the mindset of like a mechanic. A mechanic is not going to ask a millimeter socket to do what a standard needs to do, and he's not going to use an adjustable wrench for everything. He's got box end wrenches. I'm the same way. So with guns, whether it's a rifle, it's a shotgun, I don't ask a tool to do something that it's not specifically designed to do. So when it comes to the truck gun, there's a lot of different ways you can look at this. I can tell you the way I look at it.
Well, when you're using your analogy there, again, this is like the conversation that Nate and I have all the time. Like, we could not probably be more diametrically opposed. Uncle Frank, right? So,
oh yeah.
I'm the guy that's taken the box end wrench to the grinder so that I can have it to go around, the brake line.
Yep.
I'm thinking of it like I'm taking that adjustable crescent wrench and I'm using it as a hammer when I need to. Those are the things I think it's just that, and I think that goes back to that truck gun, and I think about it as if you were not a tinfoil hat guy, if you were not a tactical guy, if you were not gray man, if you were not any of those things, when you go back to that, exactly what I just said, you're taking that crescent wrench and you're going to use it for everything.
Yep.
To me, it goes back to that truck gun, which would be, I think, what all of us as kids or in our memory banks would be. It's that rifle that's hanging in the back of a farmer's truck.
It is.
Or whatever that you're seeing in the back window. And that's the guy that has a pair of dikes on his belt. He's got a belt knife. He's got a big hammer. And basically that man can fix anything with some wire and those 4 tools.
No, for sure. I think I think that you break it down to what that purpose was, that rancher, and then, there's the ranch handy rifle that's out there. It's specifically designed to ride in that rack. a lot of those ended up being lever actions or bolt action rifles. And, the classic for me is thinking about that lever action that's hanging up there, just because lever actions are really retro cool. And we're seeing that in the pricing of them right now. If you got a lever action rifle, you got a lever action 30-30 in your closet somewhere?
So the funny part about that is like I got, gosh, it's been 20 years ago now, a list. And I bought so the first deer I've ever killed was with model 1894. That was my dad's open sights.
Yep.
If you know anything about the 1894s, for the listener, I know you do, but they were top eject. So you could only have, I guess you could, nowadays it's a known thing, but you would put a scout scope on it. But everybody in my family, or the ones that we saw, had the side mounted scopes.
Mm-hmm.
And they just got banged around. So my dad was like, not that he was a purist, but he was like, I'm not going to have that. So he had gotten another one, a Sears and Roebuck, from one of his buddies, one of my other uncles. Because my grandpa had given all of the kids 1894s for their graduation present. And that Sears and Roebuck was not one of them. It was from the other side of the family, one of the uncles. But I ended up buying that gun, and I subsequently sold it to one of my buddies because I had no use for a 30-30 either. I still feel like there's better cartridges out there in that realm. But
for sure,
circling back 20 years ago or so, I got this list of like 10 guns that everybody should own for your collection. And there's some very classic ones, and I have most of them. One I don't have because I have no desire to own is 1911, just because I'm not going to have a 3-pound pistol that holds 7 or 8 rounds. Like maybe a 2011, maybe something in 10 millimeter will be on there sometime.
Sure.
But I'm just too practical. But on that list was 1894 30-30 or a Marlin like 336.
Okay.
But I was like, I have no use for one of those, but I'm also very practical. So on that list was J-frame 357 or 38.
Yep.
And so I have a K-frame 38. And so I was like, I need a 357 lever gun, because that's where the practicality to me goes, because like two things, like to pair those two things together. And this is where we'll get into this when it comes to the truck gun and like kind of going forward as to like why I love this conversation is I feel like those lever guns, the gun that won the West, yada, 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 all that stuff. But that's the original assault rifle. I mean, in a sense.
For sure.
And now when you're saying, like, now they're coming back and people are, like, starting to trick them out, and you see these, I forget the company that's doing it, but, if you could do a search on, like, tactical lever guns.
There's some cool stuff out there, man. I'm following, like, 6 guys on Instagram who, like, just tricked those things out.
And so
cool.
And so finally I spent the money, and I bought, and I waited because I was like, I could not find, one of the Winchesters that are just exorbitantly expensive.
Yeah.
And then all the Rossies are available, but the Rossies have like 4 or 5 different generations where there's like good ones, bad ones, very bad ones. Maybe you get a good one and then some decent ones.
Right.
And to try to figure out like which one you're going to get, for $500, but it's something that I wanted to get and keep. So, when Ruger then bought Marlin, so I got one of those, and I think it is a 1894. I don't know.
It is,
but it's a different action. So
right.
It's not that top eject. It's got the side bolt or whatever.
Yep.
But I got one of those, and when I bought it, so I bought the Trapper model with the threaded, and it's the
awesome
all weather. But that thing is, all but a mare's leg. Like, take off the threaded barrel, and it's a freaking SBR.
Yep.
So it is short.
It is.
So pretty slick. but I do. Long-winded way of saying I do not have a 30-30, but I have a 357.
I love it. I love it. I actually when we went to the Bowman's Club and had that table there, I was kind of trying to decide what type of guns I needed. And you go, do I need any? No. So if you're going to get one, let's get one you want. And there was only really two guns left in my wants, and it was I want a long range carbon fiber barreled big bore. So I want something that's a long bullet that I'm going to be able to stretch out. And the other thing was a lever action 44. I want a lever action 44. Not that I have anything that would be compatible with it when you start talking about that truck gun and you start talking about compatibility where you're saying 357, where you've got a side carry that's a 357, you've got something that marries up that ammo into a longer barrel.
And you can plink with it with a 38.
I know it.
And it is absolutely dead, almost movie quiet with a suppressor.
Aren't those awesome? Like, it seems like most of those, like even 45, 70, 44, 10 millimeter, all of those straight walled cartridges, you can suppress relatively easy. But when you start getting into the 38s and suppressing them, you go, oh, these are nothing.
Yeah, the 357 with the suppressor, still loud.
Still
Magnum. Still Magnum.
Still Magnum, yeah.
38 is insanely quiet. But the funny thing is you talk about the Bowman's Club, they just kind of weren't available this year. Last year, for that $100 for 20, I did a Henry 357.
Okay.
And this year I was gonna do a 4570, and I was gonna put some a rifle holder on that Raptor target that we have, like Jurassic Park, you know. And but they just didn't have them. I couldn't get one.
You can't touch them for the money. It's like you start looking at those guns, and the cheapest one out there is now $800 to $900, which was $500, and you could pick them up on some pretty decent auctions, online auctions. You could get that thing for $500, $400, depending on what it was. But yeah, you can't touch them anymore because they're making all this cool furniture. Right. And guys go, okay, so I'm going to take this old thing with this classic look that a lot of people had, and I'm going to turn it into something super rad and it becomes tactical at the same time.
Well, and that's the thing is, like, that's why I like that lever platform, and I can see where you get bitten by the bug, right? Because it's like, oh, I got this one, but like, man, that 357, like Henry Big Boy X, like that's just all black, and like you can knock it around, and then it's like, oh well, one of those Rossies for $500 to throw in the truck, because and that's another thing. Like when we get back to that truck gun thing, is do you want I don't even know what they are, $2,500, $3,000 Honey Badger, like under the seat, right? I mean, it's kind of like what it's built for. I mean,
my buddy's got one in the back in the back of his truck that he just forgets about. It's there, and that's how he rolls. And I always ask him, like, Mike, what's it for? And he's like, well, if anything ever goes down, I got a gun. And it's like, well, I've always got a gun anyway, but do I need a rifle? No, I don't. Unless certain things happen. And for me, it's always get home. So I work a long way from home, and I'm not super like prepper dude who's like, we gotta prepare to bug out. Like, I'm bugging in. So if the things go bad, you'll know where to find me. I'll be here. But it's like get home. So how do I get home? I always carry a Glock 9mm with me. That's a 19. So that's my everyday carry. I like 9mm. Rounds are cheap. Hope I never need it, but I have it. Because I carry a G19, I actually have a rifle that takes G19 mags that shoots 9mm. That is the best thing for me, knowing that if I've got to get home, if I had to take a long walk, which it'll take me probably 2 days to walk home, got a security of a rifle, always got my tennis shoes in the back and, some inclement weather gear, depending on what time of year it is. Just because I do a lot of things after work too, so it helps me out. I've always got my emergency kit with me. And I've got a pickup truck with the topper, so why not throw your emergency kit in the back of your truck?
So, and that's, again, like, that's the thought process of, like, the use case, right? And so, like, again, your buddy with the honey badger, right? And in thinking about this, I was trying to think of, like, the actual, like, verbiage of the quote from the movie, right? But you know the movie The Town?
No, I haven't seen The Town. What's The Town?
It's Ben Affleck, and they're the bank robbers from Boston.
Oh, is this the whose truck are we going to take? That
Yeah.
one? Okay. Yeah. I've seen the clips.
Okay. Well, there's a point where, and this comes into, like, all, this is like a much bigger discussion because it goes into, like, some other things. But there's a point, so they end up robbing this bank, and they get into a legit firefight in the thing, and the cop, he's John Hamm, and he goes, I think he's interviewing him, or he's talking to the other cop, and he goes, and you and your buddies, or these guys, decide to bang it out on the West End during rush hour. And that's what I think about, like, okay, like, in, like, AR, or, like, any of these, like, options with, like, FRTs and stuff like that. It's like, what are you really going to use this thing for? Like, other than, because, like, I can see, if you have, like, a military background, or you were, like, EP, or you were, something like that. But, security job, or you're a police officer, or you have it for, like, other, another reason that you were going to, like, bust out all your full gear. And don't get me wrong, like, you talk about, like, bugging in, like, I've said it before, like, my family is, like, you got a pretty cool gun room, but it doesn't have, like, mannequins with body armor.
Right.
It doesn't have bags of rice. It doesn't have, like, like, things that my family has. Like,
right.
So, I mean, I get, but, like, so my, one of my cousins, he says, like, he carries, like, a AR-15 and a thermal and a bunch of other stuff. But he's like, anytime I go more than, like, 50, 60 miles from my house, like, this is what I bring with me. Like, I mean, at least he has, like, an idea of, like, what, why, when, how.
Yep.
But, you go on any forum or whatever, and it's like, well, I got to have AR-15 for the, or, like, like I said, these, and now they've got all these, like, really cool, like, PDWs and, like, folding stocked everything.
Yep.
Anything that can fit in a backpack. So it's like, what's the use case? And, anybody, I mean, and for anybody, right? Like, you can pick up, what is it? Like a Winchester SXP, or even like a Stevens, I forget the model now, but I've got one. I think my brother-in-law has it. But, defense shotgun for like $200 or less.
Yep.
So as far as, like, kind of what you're talking about, like, rounds availability, like, you got some 12 gauge rounds, like, very, very diverse ammo choices. Like, if you hit a deer, somebody else hits a deer, and you got to put it down. If you have to, like lots of different options for like why you would have this thing in your truck, even for yourself. It's like it's your personal protection. Like
Yeah, but I
mean,
think you need to, play to your strengths and where you see why you're going to need it. So I'm not military background. I'm a sportsman. My purpose for having a long gun is just going to be to put some range on what I already have, which is the 9mm. I'm not going to be getting in any crazy firefights. I don't see that ever being a possibility. It's not going to happen. If I ever had to use a gun, I'm sure it would be very, very close. I would probably try to talk down and get my way out of any situation, and which I would rely on my mouth way more than I would a weapon. I do find some security in having that, knowing that if I had to take that walk home, because, what I do, I'm a predator hunter, so I creep around in the dark. I have an extra thermal. I have an extra thermal handheld that rolls with me. It's in my get home bag. It is part of the plan, and my plan is to go, turbo sneaky. You won't see me during the day. And if you do, it'll be gray man style, like you pointed out at the beginning. No military paraphernalia, no camouflage. It will be blend right in. That's where I'm comfortable. That's why I choose what I choose. But yeah, there's different reasons. And if you're the guy that goes, okay, I am military based, and you want to go AR, awesome, good for you. You're talking about, and I say if you're going to go AR, you're going to go AR-15, and you're going to go 5.56, or you got mags for that, and then you're going to have a sidearm, and you're going to have mags for that. And every time you start adding mags, you start adding weight. And if you're going to have to take a walk, then it's a workout. I'm going to go everything match and go light and go fast.
So what is your thoughts on, so I think we need to like transition to like for the listener and
sure,
like options and use case. But just since you're on that and you're talking about mags and ammo, and you're talking about your rifle and whatever, what is your thoughts on like the AR-9 platform? Because most of them take Glock mags.
Yeah, most of them take Glock mags.
Yeah,
almost all, unless it's like a specific. I think I've got what is it? A Scorpion that has its own mag. But I
wouldn't buy one simply for that reason.
No,
like I'm just too practical.
Yeah,
and Scorpion's expensive, but like just simply for, I just want like complete reciprocity. Like,
yeah,
that's it.
Yeah, no, I get it, and there's lots of options out there. Like I would definitely go with something that has a Glock mag, just because I own Glocks. So if you don't own a Glock, that might put that out of the category. But if you do have a rifle that takes a Glock mag, you might want to go out and get yourself a G19 or a G17, depending on what your rifle will accept.
26.
Get 26, the baby one. Yeah.
So, but your thought on like because there's a lot of different options out there. So there's the Keltec Sub 2000s. There's I even think some of the I'm not sure if those Smith & Wessons only take the Smith & Wesson mags, or if they have one that takes Glock mags. That's a neat little thing. It doesn't fold flat.
Yeah.
But and I'm trying to think. I think there is that, like, I think that G-Force Blade takes Glock mags. And like I said, then there's a billion different AR-9 platforms that take Glock mags.
Yeah, and you can get those relatively cheap. You can go on to like Palmetto right now and buy yourself a lower that's a 9. that it's going to take Glock mags, and that's the same thing that their Glock kind of carbon copy, that dagger that they have, that pistol, which is actually a pretty nice pistol, to tell you the truth.
I just bought one for. I kept telling myself, like, as soon as they get under X amount of price, I'm going to buy one, and they did, and I bought one. And then talking to the guy at the gun shop, he's like, "Yeah, I've got like 6 of them between me and my wife," and he's like, "When the slides go on sale, you can buy the slides for super cheap, and then you just buy the frames. You can buy the frames when they go on sale." And so he's like, "You can put them together for almost less than $200." And I was like, "Oh, I should have done that," but still, for the money, and like it's a Glock 19 Gen 3 clone,
right?
And again, I personally, again, for the reciprocity, I have 2. I have a Glock 19, and then I just bought one of those Palmetto State.
One of the daggers.
Daggers.
Yep.
The compact, so not the 17 size.
Okay.
But then I have 2 sub 2000s. So.
Yeah, no, we were talking about that because I said, "You guys want to see a truck gun?" And we were in the text message thread, and I pulled out mine. You said, "I got 2 of those," and I was a little bit jealous and go, "Why does he have 2?" Because I know your philosophy on the guns, and go, "Why do you have 2? Why do you have 2 of those?"
Well, because long ago, I wanted one for that reciprocity thing, and I bought. They only had the Gen 1.
Okay.
Right? So they didn't have a Gen 2 or the Gen 3 now. And so I paid like a gazillion dollars for it because they weren't available, and now you can get them for nothing.
Right.
So I got one, and if you know anything about them, they fold flat, they fold in half. Sights on them aren't really great. So I ended up. There's a couple of different options where you can put optics on them that again aren't great for the Gen 1s. So I put a 45-degree M-lock pick rail on it.
Yeah.
With just one of those TRS 25s, and dude, coolest thing ever. Like, put that on there. We put some clay pigeons out at 100 yards, and I told my brother, I'm like, let's just walk this in. I'm gonna shoot this red dot, and we'll see how close we can get it. I don't have too high of expectations, and it was just like toon, 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 just picking off clay pigeons at 100 yards right out of the, like, just bolting it on and going. And I was like, yep, that'll do.
Yep.
So then, fast forward, X amount of years later, Gen 2 comes out, they're X amount of dollars, blah, blah, blah. And then they were for sale for like they were on sale for like $300. I was like, well, I gotta buy one of those, And so then I bought one of those. And so that's got the threaded barrel. It's got already some of the built-in like pick rail or like stuff on it. And then I bought. Now they make a rotating, not the rotating handguard thing, but they make a rotating riser for your optic.
Okay.
And so you rotate that out of the way, fold it up, and then you rotate it back so it still folds flat.
Yep.
And you don't have to get that really weird cheek weld. You can just shoulder it.
Yep.
And look right over the top of it. And so that's why I have 2. But then that's why I needed the dagger, because I had 2 and I didn't have 2. So
I get it.
I had to have 2 systems,
If you do own that sub 2000, like Adam and I do, they don't sponsor at all, but we'll throw the plug out there. M Carbo. So M Carbo is the website. I think I bought my sub 2000, then went to M Carbo and probably spent just as much money as I did on the gun to upgrade. So going for a stainless steel ramp for the bullets, to put all new pins in, put their flip top sight on there. So they've got one that you can just flip with your thumb. It cocks out of the way. You can fold your rifle up. It goes back and you can put it flat. I really enjoyed a lot of their aftermarket stuff. It really took that gun for me from kind of shit to sugar. Like I could shoot it, but I was like, man, it was uncomfortable. And it was that cheek weld that you're talking about. You know, you throw that down there, and 9mm are not quiet. And I got that one before I had any can that would go on it. But you really had to get that thing. You had to lay right down on that rifle, and you had that. Well, it's not a buffer tube, but it's kind of like a buffer tube. That's brown bar that's laying across your cheek, and it was super uncomfortable. But I was able to, through them, put the things on it to make it a very functionable, very concealable, carryable truck gun situation. And you go, I don't want to use it anyway, but at least now it's at the point where I'd be comfortable shooting it.
So I'm surprised you don't have the new one, because it's not terribly expensive.
I know it.
But the integrally suppressed one.
Yep,
that's the one I'm talking about.
I'm with
I think
you.
they were just on sale for like $700. And it's like, man.
$700, man. It's a lot of cheese when I've already got one sitting there that's really similar that has a can. And
it's so funny though, because like, go back a year, 18 months, and just about every can that you could put on a 9mm was almost $1,000.
You're absolutely right.
So $800, you'd have been like, oh man, I can get a can for my sub 2000.
Yeah.
Now you can get integrally suppressed. You don't even got to screw anything on.
Nope.
The length is there.
And that's what makes those super cool. But you also lose some of the rifle aspects, right? Like, you're taking away a little bit of barrel. And the reason why I wanted a rifle is because I wanted more barrel. It's like you send that down a barrel further, you're going to get more distance out of it. You're going to get better rotation. Just the accuracy is there. That's the only reason why I wanted a rifle. I think if I was looking for another pistol, then you go, okay. But that's, because that's essentially a pistol with a can that's pinned on it, and it beats the ATF rules of, and here we are at Am I a Felon? So, Am I a Felon? You have to have a barrel length that is 16 overall inches. That is being beat with a can that is pinned. So if that can is on that barrel and it's pinned, and that barrel is 10 inches long, and you have a 6-inch can, and it's pinned, it cannot be removed. It's part of the barrel. But if it's a threadable thing, it is not a rifle. You cannot have a stock on it. So, yeah, I think I like the rifle length barrel on that 9mm, and I think it sends those bullets out there really, really nicely. And like you were saying, I did the same thing, clay pigeons, 100 yards, and able to turn them to dust and go, I'm really, really happy with this. The ammo's cheap.
Yeah. So kind of melding the two together, right? Like, so Am I a Felon and truck gun components. So if you're a listener and you're like, oh, I never considered like what is a good option for a truck gun, like whatever, like, and you said like, what am I going to do with it? Right. Like, what am I thinking? So like during like the COVID times, what I had in my truck for a truck gun goes, and it's not Am I a Felon necessarily, but you could be a felon if you made your own. Is I had a shockwave under the seat.
Okay.
Because I was more worried about, that was in the time of like everywhere there was riots and all this stuff, and around here there was a lot of construction, and driving around there was a couple times where I found myself in spots where there was like 2 times in particular where all the cell phone went down in the area. I don't know if you remember that.
I do.
And then I was like down in like a construction area, and like you couldn't
lose your GPS.
Well, it wasn't that. It was, there was like lights out, or there was like a big accident or something. So everybody was like crammed into like one area, and it was like a legit traffic jam in like a neighborhood. in like not a great part of town, and I was like, this is not good. But but like that whole time, it was always like I felt like it was going to be something like close, like inside my vehicle type thing. And so I was like, this bitch is going to be like right here.
Yep.
You know, and it, you know, wasn't loaded because it's not a pistol. It was just there. But like that's, you know, again, like weird things, weird science, right? I don't want to say like slippery slope, but same thing. I could have had an AR-15 pistol loaded between the seats on the dashboard, like slung across the back seat, and that's perfectly legal.
Yeah.
But this shorter than that shotgun, not a shotgun, a weapon.
Right. Any
firearm.
other?
It's a firearm. Like it's not any other weapon because it's not registered as such.
Yeah.
But, and so that was my truck gun, and that's kind of what I was talking about with like, again, like the cheapest of cheap, right? Like those Stevens, and it bothers me that I can't remember the model, but I know the Winchester SXP and like a Mossberg Maverick, like those are shotguns that you can get for nothing.
Same with that. Is it Charles Daly? You know, they sell those, and they've got the home defense style one. You know, big extended mag, and
well, I don't even think about that. And again, like going back to the AR-15 thing, right? Mm-hmm. Now, if you had that Charles Daly, blah blah blah, like if you had the home defense one, yeah. But if like let's say that you had, you know, a synthetic stock one, okay. But even if you had like a shorter barreled walnut stock cheap shotgun,
yep,
under your seat or behind your seat, that's less assuming, you know, it's not intimidating or whatever. It's still going to get you safe. It's still going to get your point across. It's still going to be able to shoot a coyote if you're a rancher or you know, whatever. But it isn't, and that's what I like about like that whole lever gun, wheel gun combo.
Sure.
Like you can have that. You could probably fire, you know, damn near as fast as semi-auto in some cases. But somebody's going to look at that as long as it isn't tricked out tactical, and they're not going to look at it and be like, oh, this is a black scary gun.
Right.
Right. And so that shotgun I don't think is the same thing. And you could say, well, I'm just a hunter. I'm just a whatever. You know, you're honey badger with a laser and a light and, you know, 3 optics on it.
Yeah, when you start talking about $5,000 worth of gear that you're, you know,
isn't the
pulling
case.
out of the back of the truck.
You know, and when, like again, like when you're having that conversation, like, all right, dude, we're gonna have a really strange conversation here.
Yeah,
like I got 17 guns.
I had 5. I did not.
I have the North American Arms belt buckle.
Yeah.
So
you have some weird conversations at nighttime, you know, like if you get stopped by the police and you're a coyote hunter that does other things. So yeah,
but you know, and for that like truck gun scenario, like again, even going back to that original scenario, right? That the rancher, the truck. And I just saw one, like there was like a Explorer or something, some pickup that was sold with a lever gun edition that came with it for you, the rack in the back. But very rarely, I think, would there be just one rifle if it was a bolt action. Like it seems like it would always be some sort of a repeating rifle.
I would say so.
I think a bolt action would be a poor choice unless, I don't know. I don't know. Could you think of a situation where I mean, maybe if you're on a ranch in Texas or something.
That's if you're on a ranch in
But
Texas or you live in Colorado and you're running the mountains all the time, you might have a truck gun that's a rifle. And if you're taking care
but
of
you'd probably
wolves,
have something else where you could shoot more.
sure, I'm sure.
You wouldn't just have that one.
No, and I think truck gun. When I think of truck gun, I don't think about a sidearm. I don't think about a pistol. The pistol is just the EDC or the everyday carry that goes with you wherever you go. Then if you talk the truck gun is like a little bit more, putting a little bit more distance on it, being able to get some things done. And some guys might not be able to do that. I might go, I don't have an EDC. I'm just looking for, if I leave and get too far from home, I need something to give me some comfort, to make sure that I can get home. You start looking at a shotgun in those type of situations. I mean, shotgun, when you start talking about like defense of yourself or defense of a home, or shotgun's a great choice, but it's going to be super personal. Like, they're up and close to you. Probably the only situation where you actually should use a weapon is shotgun range. And you don't run away from it.
Yeah.
You can load it up and down. What Dave Chappelle say? You can pepper them up real good.
Yeah, I mean, I just I'm kind of going again back to that practicality standpoint, right?
Sure.
So like the tool type thing.
And I think it depends on who you are, right? Like who you are and what you do. Like if you're good with a shotgun, like I would definitely have something that you're comfortable with.
I'm pretty good with a shotgun.
There you go, man. I know some dudes who are surgical with a shotgun, and good for you. You have to be able to operate it. You have to be able to operate it well. You have to know it. So to go out and say, "Hey, I'm going to buy this gun specifically for it to be my truck gun," I would go, you might want to use it a little bit more. And like, it's not just going to go in the truck. If you're comfortable with something, if you're comfortable with shooting, the more things that you shoot, the more you become comfortable with things you have never shot before. AR-15 is super intimidating, but once you shoot and then you get the concept, then you go, all these doors open up for different things that you can be comfortable with by picking it up just because it follows the same style platform. Guys I know who are AR-15 absolute dorks. Like, they just love AR-15s, and not that I don't. I mean, I shoot one every other night, but it's, you put in, AK style anything in front of them, and they, it's like they're all thumbs. You go, hey man, it's the same stuff. You just gotta, it's shit's on the other side. Like you gotta kind of walk them through the Russian method of, this is how this was made.
So what about that? What about like a Draco for your truck gun?
I love an AK. I love an AK. I.
The dirtier, the better.
The dirtier, the better. Like you. I think I said it before. It's like you get some of these ARs, and I run mine pretty dirty. And being in the military, it's like you clean it, you give it a cold. It like doesn't run right for a little while, and but AK is on a different level, bro. Like I would run a can of Coca-Cola down my barrel before I would put a brush down it. Like, you want that thing to run right, bury it in the backyard for 2 weeks and then dig it up and start shooting it, because then it works. It's like the looser it gets. And then you look at the thing and you go, somebody made this in their garage with some tin cans and an old lock. It's like this This is a shed lock on the side of this thing. It's not meant to be on a gun. And you go, but that
Just works.
it just works. It just works. And they're easy to use, which probably is why, we look at some, photos of military past, and there's 12-year-old kids running around jungles carrying these things. It's like they're super simplistic, and I mean, you hit it go bang. Like there's that's all there is to it.
There's not you're telling me there's not a built-in immediate action system?
There is
into
no
the bolt
system in
in
that.
the
There's
side of
a
it?
spring, and there is lots of lead that comes out the end of it.
It's like not when it doesn't go fully forward on the chamber, you just hit this thing. Like we made it just
It's
for
going.
that.
It's going fully forward, and it's gonna shoot. It's and that's that forward assist. Actually, it was funny because my wife actually asked me about forward assist 2 nights ago. I pulled out. She is not into guns like I'm into guns. AR-15 scares her. And I get it. They look intimidating. They're not grandpa's deer rifle. And I pulled out a AR-15 pistol and AR-15 rifle, and we kind of went through, and I said, well, if there's ever a bad situation, I want you to know how to pop this thing open, remove the bolt, eliminate the threat. Like, say you're walking down the street, bad things are going on, and there's an AR-15 laying there. I want to know that you know how to unload it and remove the bolt and throw the bolt in the bushes and boogie on out, whatever you got to do. So we kind of went through that. And then I did just so you know, this is a pistol. And she goes, that is not a pistol. That looks exactly like that one. And I go, welcome to the ATF. like
This week on Am I a Felon?
That's it.
Now take this and put this over here.
Right.
Take these 2 pins and
When you go, and she was not amused when I handed her the pistol, and I go, here, put this to your shoulder, and she puts it to her shoulder. And I go, and you're a felon now. And she's like, what are you talking about? And I was like, that's a pistol, and you can't put it to your shoulder.
And that's specifically why I've told Nate and some of the other guys this, but like that's why. And my brothers have it too, but personally, I built that 350 Legend on an AR platform for my daughter to be her hunting rifle.
Yep.
So that it isn't scary, or that scariness gets out of the way, because it would have been, it was scary when it was a pink mossy oak 243. I mean, granted, she was 4 years old and she couldn't see out of the scope,
right?
But she couldn't have hit a skyscraper with it. But that gun was scary. So why not give her the scary gun, and teach her to run it, teach her to understand the controls.
Yep.
And and that's the thing. And again, back to that whole, you said it opens up doors to a lot of different things. But even that AR-9, I thought you were going to go a different way with that with your wife and just say like, hey, this is what we're going to have, hanging over the bed. Like when the boogeyman comes, like, you don't want to shoot this one, shoot this one, and, less recoil, less everything,
Yeah.
Same controls. So when you pick up the other one, it's just going to be louder.
Absolutely. You're absolutely right. And it is. But for somebody who doesn't operate those on a regular basis, there's problems. Like misfires happen, and jams happen. Jams happen a lot more than misfires do, but when a jam happens, there's some things you got to do. You got to drop the mag. You got to break open the bolt. Slide that BCG back and eject what it is, and then go refeed it. You're gonna
tap rack bang. Come on.
Yeah, yeah, and And I get it when you're military, when you run it and you do it, or when you're a coyote hunter and you're out there doing it in the middle of the night. I mean, you want to get good at running an AR, run it in the dark. Like I tell people, it's like if you run things in the dark, you build that muscle memory really, really quickly. Choice for my wife is a shotgun. It's a 20 gauge shotgun. You go, this operates this, or a wheel gun. We talked about pistols, and she was like, well, what if I use that small Glock, that 380? And I go, I think you're gonna run this 357, which you're gonna put 38s in, which is a Ruger LCR. And you go and you pull the trigger, and if nothing happens, you pull the trigger again. That's just how it works. It's really that simple, and the simplicity of it is what really turns me on with giving that to my wife, who doesn't shoot all the time. She's got some knowledge as to how things work and has shot, needs more, but so sure, it's not like the 357 that is for her is in her possession. It's actually in mine, but that's the plan as things progress with her.
Yeah. So if you were to go like truck gun hierarchy, and you were going to go like, say, budget. So keeping both of those things in mind, like where would you go, say, top 5?
So if you're top 5, I guess we have to go to my list. You said you had a list of 10 guns that you have to have,
Like it's a list that exists.
Yep.
And so I have that list, and I refer to it, and I'm like, okay, yeah, okay.
I have my own list. So I have a list that I created and said, if you have to have guns, and I actually used it with my son-in-law, because he's recently, because he listens to the podcast, and he sat down and did a shotgun episode with me, because he's like, I gave him a shotgun and said, Gary, you don't have a shotgun? Like, you gotta have a shotgun. You have to have a shotgun. You have to have a 12 gauge shotgun. That was one that was on my list. It's like, you need a pump action 12 gauge shotgun. Absolutely have to have one. You have to have a pistol that shoots 9mm, and you have to know how to use it. You have to have a rifle that shoots long range. That's a big bore rifle. So you have to get something 30-06, 308, 270. You have to get something and know how to use it. You have to have an AR-15 that's chambered in 5.56, and you have to have an AK that's 7.62. You have to have those things. Now, there's a lot of cool stuff that you can have, like, in the middle, but those are all specific tools. So, not everybody needs an AR-10. I love an AR-10. I don't like carrying one. They're too heavy. I have a 7.62 by 55 AR-10. So it's cool. It's really cool. It's fun to take out and shoot, and it weighs about 11 pounds when I've got it loaded up, and it's completely impractical. That would make a super sweet truck gun, but it might be just a super sweet truck gun to show my buddies. I don't know if you would ever need it. So I think more than putting that top list together, I'm so, whatever my tism is with those hypothetical questions, it's like, it's hard for me to answer it, just because there's so many options, and you go, well, does this person know how to use something? But when you stick to you carry the largest caliber thing that you know how to use. Like, when it comes to concealed weapons, do the same thing. Like, if you can carry a 9mm, you can use a 9mm, use it. But if you can carry something bigger, you should carry something bigger.
So I'm confident
Mm-hmm.
confident that you could probably proficiently run a Desert Eagle. Now, why don't you?
Well, it's a couple of reasons. It's a humongous gun, and it's not needed.
I'm just playing devil's advocate.
Yeah, no, and I
here.
get it. Please do. Please play devil's advocate.
But I mean, if someone's new and they're listening and they're like, well, Skeeter said the biggest thing that you can have. So, like, I'm going to go to the gun range. I'm going to rent all these things. And, man, I can run this pretty well.
You can.
Run this 460 revolver pretty well.
And I guess we would say, being able to run something and being able to afford to run something are a couple of different things. If there's no budget, I don't see why you wouldn't run a Desert Eagle. But when it comes to probably 99% of the population, there is a budget in mind. And you don't want a gun that you can't shoot. Or find ammo for. Part of my, you have to have a 5.56 and you have to have a 7.62 goes back to my, and 12 gauge and a 9mm goes back to my scavenging ability. And you go, this is hardware store ammo, or you're probably going to be able to pick this up if there's a situation where there's things. It's going to be there. It's going to be there. It's going to be one or all of those calibers.
Yeah, find someone, go down the street, find a house that has an old rusty truck or a Buick in the driveway. Go in there and go in the junk drawer, and you'll find one or more of those calibers.
Absolutely. You don't have to go far in my house. Like, ever seen one of these?
Yeah. Is that the slug or the?
Yeah, it's a slug.
Well, I got a Shockwave. I got a whole bunch of them.
Yeah, tiny little 12 gauge. And you could fit a whole ton of them in there if you got you got a pump action. So yeah, it's
all right. So let's change the question then.
Yeah, okay.
Since your ADD brain can't
can't get there,
can't compute. But I'm a mechanic and I need all of the
that's
tools.
Completely different tism.
So what would be your criteria?
My criteria is for my criteria for picking the gun that I'm going to carry, or what most people should.
For your son-in-law.
Okay. So for my son-in-law, the criteria was and still is that he has to have a sidearm. That sidearm has to be in the truck. So he had to get his CPL so he could have that, because I wanted him to have it loaded, which he did. And he got a 9mm, which good for him, because the ammo, you could find it when it's on sale for 20 cents. We used to be able to get stuff for 16, 14 cents. Palmetto, bless them, would ship it right to your door, 5 or 1,000 of them for $169, and we could have a fun weekend. 9mm, and then have to have something that's a long gun to carry home. He does have a 12 gauge. So, close range, and not really an extended range, but just an enhancement of having a long gun, which is his truck gun. I don't think that a 5.56 AR pistol is bad. They're cheap. They're Tinker Toys for big kids. You can dress them up. You can do different things to them. They're relatively cheap to shoot. You should be able to get rounds, under 30 cents most of the time if you find them. So you can shoot it a lot and get proficient with it. So if you're not proficient with it, I don't care what you have, top 5, top tier, super cool stuff. If it's sitting in your truck and you don't know how to use it, you're just carrying a boat paddle anyway. Like, you have to be able to shoot it, which is why we don't go to things like the Desert Eagle. I don't carry my 10mm. Ammo's expensive. It's expensive. I don't shoot enough. I mean, before we went bear hunting, I shot it actually quite a bit just to make sure that my proficiency was up on it, and I felt that. just going at lunchtime and heading down to the range and putting 50 to 100 rounds through it, and you do that a couple times a week with 10 millimeter, and you go, that does not feel good. That just ate, $100 right out of my pocket.
So when you're talking about an AR pistol, okay, Tinker Toys for adults,
yep,
million options. So are we talking? I guess what would be? Is there a sweet spot? 7-inch barrel, 10-inch barrel. Are you trying to get like closer to that carbine length? Twist rate, does that matter?
It does. It matters a lot when you're talking about the caliber. So I think that the thing that a lot of people miss when we start talking about the AR-15 is that AR-15 is the actual design of the gun, but not the caliber. And if you're talking about a 5.56, which is what most people think about when they think about an AR-15, that's probably going to be the most plentiful ammo that there is. It, contrary to popular belief, it does not put a hole this big in things, and it is not the caliber of choice for me. But I'm a gun dork. I can't tell you. I shoot my 5.56 for plinking, but I don't do much else with it because it's not a lethal caliber when it comes to animals, and I'm a hunter. I'm probably going to get some hate for that. Watch this.
But what I'm saying is, like, so somebody decides, okay, I've already got an AR rifle, yep, I've already got all these mags, I've got a bunch of boxes of ammo, so it yep, seems like I can run it. I'm going to buy one. Okay, so do I want a 7-inch barrel, a 10-inch barrel, 11.5-inch barrel?
Yep.
And then it says, okay, this one has carbine gas system. This one has a pistol length gas system. This one has a 1-in-7 twist rate. This one has 1-in-9. What should I do?
With
Too
a
many options.
With a 5.56, the twist rate, with a short barrel, the twist rate's not going to mean much for you. I would not go shorter than a 10.5-inch barrel with a 5.56. If you're going to go shorter with the barrel, if the barrel is your hang up, if you go, I need to have a 7-inch barrel, you need to switch calibers. Don't shoot a 5.56, shoot a 300 blackout. So you're going to want something that burns all that powder and gets the most out of that round that you can get. You're not going to get that with a 5.56. So you want to get into that 10 or longer range. Now, the accuracy improves in a 5.56 and the speed improves in the bullet when you continue to lengthen the barrel, when you get to that carbine length and then get out to that rifle length. If you're going truck gun, like, AR pistols are cool. AR pistols are cool in a 5.56, and I own them, and I like them, and they're fun to shoot. If you're looking for something that's got a lot more distance or accuracy outside of 150 yards, start lengthening that barrel, and you'll be able to get it. And that's also when I tell you to start putting optics on things and not just a red dot, so a magnification. And you can go down the road of, here's a red dot with a magnifier. They do make those. There's SIG's got the Romeo Juliet. EOTech's got the same thing. Vortex does. There's a lot of different players. Halo Sun, they've all got those where it's red dot and a flip over magnifier. It doesn't help you a whole lot with the pistol length. I would say the capability of that gun is good with irons. You should be able to just about maximize that gun with iron sights. If somebody goes out and shoots one, they're not really that comfortable to shoot. You can shoot them pretty proficiently, but it's not like you can settle in like you can with a long gun with a stock on it.
And then I guess probably, arguably, the most important part of this conversation that we've not even remotely addressed, and this is honest to God truth, how about the security factor? So if you're going to keep a gun in your vehicle the entire time,
Mm-hmm.
and you're keeping a long gun, how are you doing that safely
Safely.
or
So you're
legally, or am I a felony?
legally. So if you're legally carrying two guns that are not pistols, anything that comes out of the pistol category, you are cased, and you are separate from ammo. It has to be, if it's in a car, I believe it has to be in the trunk. If it is a truck, it has to be out of your reach, is what they say. So, stowed. Got to put it in a case. Got to have it under that truck seat. Got to have it. Got to have it somewhere where it's away from you. Your pistol is a different animal, especially when you have a CCW or a CPL. Can't remember. We changed that verbiage at some point. So CPL, concealed pistol license. Mine is magnetized to my dashboard. So they make those cool chuck magnets that just sits there, but it's also not in a holster or anything like that. So, as far as the legality, that's how it has to go. Um, as far as security, that's a different story because you've got like me, I've got young ones, so I have to play the game mentally every single time. Like you cannot get complacent with where things are and who's left where. And I know that I do it as discreetly as possible, but my wife does not have a CPL, and I have left my truck, and I will have to discreetly take a pistol off the magnet and holster it, and then put it at 6 o'clock, and most of the time she doesn't catch it, but once in a while she will. Hey, what's going on? And it's like, I'm stepping out of this truck, and you're not going to leave you in here with a pistol, on a magnet sitting right here in front of my leg. So, you've got to, if you are going to step in the world of truck guns or even carrying a gun, there's a lot that comes with it. You cannot get complacent. You are going to be held responsible for things that happen. That's all there is to it. It is not just I got this gun and I carry it and I do what I want because that's my God-given right. It's like, well, you've got a right to everybody else too, to follow the laws and take care of things and not get people in trouble and not let people, even somebody entering your space that shouldn't be in your space. Like you want to make sure that you're taking care of your responsibility. That's a big responsibility to carry a pistol.
Yeah. And I think that's one of the things that gets, I don't want to say like overlooked, but probably taken for granted. And I think that there's two sides of that coin. And I find it comical because there's people who they are, God given right, I'm going to do whatever. And the further you go, tinfoil hat side, that's where you get the open carriers, and I feel like the more people that I see open carry are the people that I see. I saw one just the other day with just like the wildest setups. You're like, what are you doing? Like cross draw type setups,
Oof.
like what?
Wyatt
Why?
Earp.
Yeah,
Doc
like,
Holliday.
what are you doing? And a cross draw 45-degree angle, and then you bend over and you're flagging people. It's like,
Unreal.
what's going on? Like, I don't know. It just, and then you got the other side where people are like super not that like what you were doing is super scared about it, but there's other people who are like, oh my gosh, there's a gun in the house. I have to do this and I have to do this. And it's like, yeah, this weekend, like my daughter had a friend over and I had 3 shotguns on the pool table. And I was like, I probably should scoop those up and bring them in the gun room. But, you know, like that's probably not okay. But for the rest of the time, like my daughter's growing up just like I am. I mean, I don't know if I told this on one of the podcasts or if it was just talking to Nate or whatever, but I was down here. I just swapped out some triggers on 2 different, they were actually 2 of the same pistols. And I swapped out one and not the other. And my daughter's like, she came down here. She's like, what are you doing? And I was like, well, and she's like, well, that gun's loaded. And I was like, no, it's not. I was like, here's what condition 1 is. Here's what condition 3 is. Here's what condition 4 is. I'm like, this is not, and this is what you do when you see a gun if you want to know if it's loaded, and this is how you hand over a gun, and this is how you check and see if it's loaded. You know, you clear it before you do anything. And I was like, well, now that we've done that, make sure that this one's unloaded. Now feel this trigger.
Yep.
Feel this trigger. Do you see that there's a difference? She's like, yeah, this one's like a lot better. It's like, yeah. So I'm going to do that to this one.
Yep.
So, and you know, that's, I mean, I literally grew up in my grandparents' house, going over there. And, you know, even with toy guns, my grandma was like, we don't point guns at people, only at their feet. It wasn't, you know, but there was a room upstairs that was like a cross between like the size of like a very, very small bedroom and like a walk-in closet. It did have a closet, but it was super small. There was a bed in there. And every inch of the wall around the room and the bed, the entire bed, it was covered in long guns. And that was just, you know, we could go and play and do whatever.
Right.
You know, don't play with the guns, but you weren't like not allowed in that room or anything. And, you know, there was a gun cabinet in my living room, and there was, you know, there was always guns. And like I said, you know, my daughter, well, here's a fun little story. My mom is a city girl, not really that excited about guns and whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So to freak her out, when my sister had her daughter, it was the first grandchild. Because I'm me, I got my brothers together and I said, we're going to buy this 1-year-old, one of those, Rossi 410 22 combos so that she can open it on her first birthday.
Super cool.
My mom freaked the freak out, but so that's what we do we've done for all of the grandkids for their first birthdays. Simply for the fact of like, A, that's the way that our family is, and that's the way that these kids are being brought up. But B, at 1 year, at 2, they probably know that they've got something, they probably want to play with it. At 1, it's up to the parent to, if they ever show it to them, you know, it's 100% in their hands. And am I a felon? Is that a straw purchase? I don't know.
You know it is. You know it is. Box number 1, Adam. Yeah, but you're purchasing an heirloom, so that's a little bit different.
I don't know.
Yeah,
That's self-incriminating, I guess.
Yeah,
what's the statute of limitations?
Yeah, I think you're past. You know, I think you know, hypervigilance or just vigilance or some responsibility when you've got some guns, like, goes a long way. And that guy that you see has, you know, cross draw or, you know, the open carry guys. I'm glad that they feel that they let's see, how do I want to say this? I'm glad that they can do that constitutionally. I also feel like you might have something to prove to the rest of the world. And I, you're not a dangerous human, in my opinion. You know, like I go, that's the guy he's not carrying that thing loaded. It's not loaded. Like, absolutely is not. You know, and I've got, you know, people that I know that are really good shooters and gun owners, and they are really responsible, and they don't carry one in the pipe. And I feel, you know, a certain way about that. And I go, waiting for you to load your gun, like this thing's rock and roll, you know, like if it ever had to. But maybe because of that is why I am hyper vigilant. I mean, I do carry one in the pipe. That gun is loaded. The gun is loaded, and that's the safety. So, like, it is, when it's kind of open and out there, you know, you don't want to put the sign out. And like with our kids, I don't want to make a big deal out of it, but definitely want them to know. And, you know, Elvis has been shooting a long time.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a video out there on the internet of her, you know, shooting an AR-15 when she's 6, sitting on my lap, and I'm just, all I am is a booster seat because she couldn't get to the damn gun, you know, like, so, and she was preparing for deer, not in a 5.56. Change your caliber, deer hunters. But it's, yeah, you can get complacent really easy if you are around guns all the time, and you have guns and you have truck guns and things like that. And it's one of those things that you really need to think of. Not even your own kids, but people that you invite into your truck. Like you and other people's kids, and leaving your truck unlocked. And my wife all the time is like, "Why is your truck locked in the driveway?" There's their damn guns right there. I didn't put it in, you know, didn't holster it to come inside. I'm going back out there in a minute. My truck's locked. So I've left some places, and, you know, you get in Meyer, and I know the thing's got a horn, and I go bloop, bloop, and I know that it's locked, and I will get inside. And I didn't have full mentality when I was walking away from that truck and said, I have everything secure. And you go, I'll be back. And I go walking outside, and I'm standing, you know, in the door at Meyer looking for my lights to flash, you know, going click, 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 and making sure that baby's locked up. And it's just something that you do. And when that switch flips and you become that guy, you better become that guy all the way real quick, because when you're not expecting it is when something bad's going to happen. And unfortunately, then this won't make a lot of friends. It's going to be your fault. Like,
Oh yeah,
it's your responsibility. You can't push that off on somebody else. Go, well, they shouldn't have been in my truck. Well, you effed up, man. Like, you took on the responsibility. You holstered that pistol. You put that truck gun in your truck. You know, like, take care of it. Take care of people who don't know how to take care of themselves.
agreed. So let's see if you agree with this list. There's one on here that is antiquated.
Is there an AK on there? It's always got to be an AK on the list.
There's not. There's not. But this is like if you were gonna start a collection, like for like everybody should own, and it's pretty good right up until the last one, and the last one you could swap out with the AK. I'll give you that. So number 1, 1022 or Marlin Model 60.
Ooh, I like that.
Okay. Number 2, Ruger MK Series or Browning Buckmark.
Don't hate that.
Okay. 3, Striker Fire Double Stack 9mm.
Striker fired double stack 9mm. I absolutely have to go with that.
Okay. Number 4 is where I am contentious, but it's 1911. So
1911's off my list, but I can
But
see
if
why
we were-
you put it on there. But
it's not my list. It's
yeah,
just a
I
list
can
that
see why it's on the list.
iconic pistol. It's a, okay. Number 5, and I don't know when this list came out, so I don't know what the publicity is. I don't know what the era is.
Okay.
But it says, and it goes to, I think, your point, but it says Remington 700, 308 or larger.
It's on my list.
Number 6. Well, but Remington 700, those have got a bad rap because there was some that were going off on their own or something. They weren't drop safe or whatever.
Everybody has a bad day, Adam.
Just saying. Number 6, AR-15.
Mm-hmm.
Probably 223. It doesn't give a caliber. Number 7, Ruger or Smith, 38 or 357.
Revolver.
Yeah.
Yeah, with 357. Yeah, got it.
Yep.
So that's, yeah, I agree.
Number 8, Remington 870 or Mossberg 500 12 gauge.
Solid.
Okay. Number 9, Winchester Model 94 or Marlin 336 30-30 lever, but that's where I went with the 357 lever.
Okay.
Okay. And then number 10, antiquated, probably a better choice before there was a issue with import-export a while back. This is one that, if I just say this, there's probably a lot of listeners that aren't going to exactly know what it is if I just give you the nomenclature. But I'm going to tell you an M44 carbine.
Okay.
Mosin Nagant.
Yeah.
When you could get a tuna can for like $60, had the same ballistics as a 30-06, not a bad choice.
No.
Now, you can swap that out with an AK. I'll give you that one.
I would absolutely swap that out with an AK. I don't own a Mosin.
I used to have a couple of finished ones.
I'd buy a finished one.
Yeah. So I had a couple of finished ones. I never had an M44. But as soon as you couldn't import the ammo anymore and the price went up, I sold it all. I was like, it's not worth it to me. But what do you think about the list?
I don't hate the list. I think I would argue the 1911.
Yeah. Like I said, that's the one on the list that I don't own other than the Mosin. And I guess the 30-30, but I have the lever gun. But just the 1911, I know, and again, this is like, when you were talking about like being safe or being comfortable or like whatever, single action, locked and cocked. The thing's got safeties up the wazoo, but it's still just not my cup of tea. And then again, like I said, a 3-pound pistol with 8 rounds, like, what's the point? I mean, it only takes one because it's 45. It's God's caliber. Yeah, I get it. But,
Yeah. Like I have that. I have a 10, and I like my 10. 45 caliber can seriously do some damage, and 10 millimeter whoop its butt. So I get it. I know why it's on the list. I've never been a fan of those beaver tail pistols, man. I'm just not a fan.
Yeah. So what would you add to the list?
I'd put an AK on that list. I'd pull that Nagant off of there, and I would put an AK on that list. I would probably pull that 1911 off of there.
But if you had to have it at 10, like what is missing? Like what hole needs to be filled metaphorically?
I think I would replace that. I would replace that with an AR pistol. I would replace the 1911 with the AR pistol, I believe. But I think that the 1911 would not be number 4 on my list. Like if you were doing this
Well, I think they're just arbitrary numbers. I mean,
Well,
just
maybe
like,
then maybe we should give them numbers because, like, like I think you look at when maybe this list was put together, the fact that the Nagant's on there, the lever action 3030, the 1911, really the Remington 700, because there's a lot of options in there, and I understand why they put the Remington 700, but I also think that this list was probably put together in 1986.
yeah, it was a long time ago. Like,
Yeah. You can swap a lot of these things around if you were to put numbers to it. I do believe that a 1022 is probably the first thing that somebody should own, and they
So
should get it when they're young.
So I got a question for you,
Mm-hmm.
and this podcast is going sideways, but
That's all right.
so I love. So I had my brother still has it. A Ruger, and I believe it to be a Ruger Standard. I think even on the paperwork it says Standard.
Okay.
So I think they didn't have a Mark One. So the Ruger Standard, it was the Standard, and then it was Mark II,
Yep.
etc. So now I have a 2245, and I just love those pistols, and especially, for the reciprocating bolt, so it isn't like the tilt barrel, any of that stuff. Just a freaking amazing pistol, amazing platform, and I think that that's why it's on the list, right? However, I have not shot one. I do. I've watched a lot of videos on them, and there's people out there who are arguing now that Taurus TX22 is a better option. Now, it's a Taurus, so that's one thing that it will be really hard to. And I'm not one of these snobs or anything saying, "Oh, you'll never," blah 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 blah. But there's these. Everybody's running them with the FRTs. I mean, they're running the crap out of them. You're not really seeing a whole lot of you're not seeing a whole bunch of failures or anything like that. But you're seeing just running them to death, and there's no high capacity mags for the 1022 or the standards, whereas the Taurus, they've got, I mean, I think they have like 100 round drums now for them.
Yeah.
And as far as like a plinking tool or whatever, like we don't have any options like that.
Yeah. Are you really plinking though? Like like if you're putting FRTs and high capacity, I would think along a different line for that 22 pistol. Like I like my 22 pistol, and I have a couple of them, but like when I'm trapping, I carry my a Mark III Competition is what I have. So it's got that half round, half flat barrel with the little thumb rest on it. A little bit longer barrel. I enjoy that. I enjoy that pistol. Is your system shutting down, Adam? It says your internal temperature is too high and it may have shut down on me.
Just working on some AV stuff here.
Yeah, I seen that. Internal temperature too high.
Is that what it said?
It did. It said internal temperature too high, and then I lost your video stream.
Yeah, it went dark on me.
Yeah,
that's the first time I've ever had that happen.
So did you hear that I have a Mark III competition.
I did not.
So I like the Mark platform, that Mark III competition pistol. I carry it when I go trapping, and I like that pistol. I understand why they're saying things like Taurus TX, and I don't have anything against Taurus. Like I own I have a Raging Bull, and I have a Taurus Judge. So I've got a couple of Tauruses. But...
And you have I don't know if you've got a G3 C.
G3C?
Pretty sure.
Do I?
I think so. It was in a backpack.
Oh no, I traded it.
Did you?
I never even picked that up. So that was a. Do you want to see what that G3 turned into?
I think I did see. I think I saw it on the live stream.
Okay, yeah, you did.
Yeah,
so,
I didn't know if you were able to do that or not, because.
Yeah, so you take a free or a. It's not free. Let's not go that far. You take a raffly one AR-15, a raffly one Taurus G3, and you take a credit for being the host of a table, and you can wrap that all in and get yourself a Christensen carbon fiber barrel rifle in a 7mm PRC and still have the money down to bring it home.
Yeah, that'll happen.
Yeah.
That will happen.
Not a lot, but you got to money down a little bit. Yeah. Who made this list?
I just found it online.
Well,
and I kept it because I talked to so many people who were like new to guns at the time, and like again, this was like a long time ago, and it was a real, like I said, outside of those couple flyers, and I can't necessarily argue the 1911. Like the 1911 is a great choice for a lot of people. So I mean, if you were going to be like, I have a 1911, I would be like, cool. It's not for me, but I see why you'd like one.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, my dad loves them. Like that's he's got his like carry guns are like 1911, and then he has I don't even know who makes it, but he's either got one or he's got a pair of 380 1911 variants, and those are, but he just likes that style. I don't know. I can only picture Clint Eastwood and Gran Torino like
yeah, So I don't know. I think sometimes when you get these things like these lists, and I think it very much depends on when it was put together, and I'm guessing that was like the late '80s, somewhere in there when that list was put together, and great list for then. And I think you could make some changes to some of the models, and I think especially at this point when we look at that and say AR-15, and not all AR-15s are created equal, and there's a couple of them that I wouldn't own again.
Like what?
Omni.
Okay. Aren't those polymer?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're polymer, and the pins don't work correctly, and they're tough to break open. You've got to do a lot of replacement pieces to make it a good shooter, and you can do it, but for somebody who's going to go, hey, you got to work down this list, and you got to get something, get these things on this list. I think that, when you're looking at when the list was put together and someone said an AR-15, that you were talking, like Colts, and they.
So what's funny is like I keep looking at them because they're, like you said, some of those are like super cheap. Like and I think the one that you won actually was one of those that I purchased at a super cheap.
Mm-hmm.
But ATI, because ATI goes back and forth between some of theirs are polymer, some of those aren't, and I find it comical. Like I always look at them and I'm like, I would not like a polymer AR. Now my brother had one, and he doesn't have any problems with it. Not an ATI. It was New Frontier arms,
Okay.
like when they first came out, before they were forging all their own and stuff. But and now they have all these 3D printed ones and whatnot. But I just find it comical because I've had to like, I don't know, like rationalize it myself. But like our Glock, Springfield, Sig, pick one. They're all polymer.
Yeah.
You're not like, oh, I mean, back in the day, you'd be like, I don't want one of those Tupperware guns.
Nope.
But like at a rifle, at like a hard use rifle, and maybe it's just like from like a leverage point, like because it is such a big package, and maybe that's why, I don't know, but I just can't like wrap my head around like polymer. I was like still like, ooh, no. But then same thing, like any I would say any budget rifle, but I mean maybe even like your gazillion-dollar Christensen Arms has a synthetic stock.
Sure does. Sure does. And there's polymer just about on all good rifles nowadays, to tell you the truth. It's something about that mass production in polymer, and depending on where the polymer is, like on that gun, and like the one in particular that I'm talking about, like that thing's got poly pins, man. Yeah. And you go, I just don't see it. Like I don't see that being a viable option for somebody who's actually going to take it out and shoot it. And maybe that's meant for the guy who goes, I got to own an AR, and he's got to get into it the cheapest, and he's not going to take it apart. But we're going to have to clean the thing at some point,
Yeah, but I feel like you could get just as cheap. Like I've heard nothing but good things. I've considered buying one, but like those Radical firearms are like super, super cheap, and they seem to have pretty good reviews. And there's tons and tons of good reviews on them.
I just saw one. Sundays, I like when I sit down and I think I sent a couple text messages out to the groups, smoking some meat today out on the smoker, and in between, sitting down and checking through emails and things. And if you're not part of Palmetto State's like email, don't do it. That is a slippery slope right there. But I think today they sent me one of those Radicals, and it's full size rifle with an 18-inch barrel. It's actually a really nice rifle setup, and it's like you look at it and you go, I don't need another AR. I'm not buying one. And then you go, hey, I want $499 for this thing, and they go, well, I'm just gonna look at it for a second, and yeah, I don't need one, don't want one, not gonna get one, but if somebody was, it's a good option.
Well, that's why I keep looking at those. Like I said, like those ATI pistols are like $349 or something, and I keep going back because as long as it doesn't say like the Max Hybrid, like it's a full.
Yep.
It's the metal. Something.
And I have one
truck gun.
300 blackout.
So, you're talking about polymer and like the different pieces and like whatnot. A very interesting thing about that is actually in 1022s, now they're like whole fire control group, trigger guard, all that stuff is polymer. And it's actually better than the old metal ones, because the metal was like cheap pop metal, and the tolerances are tighter on the new polymer. They're able to do a better job, and they don't wear out as quickly. And because I talked to my one buddy who's like really, really big into guns, and I was like, man, I bought one of these and da 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 da. I've been looking at them, and he's like, yeah, it's actually better now that they've done like the polymer ones. Like you may be able to like for like a collector or something, they may be better, but the polymer in the long run is going to hold up longer and better.
Sure.
So it's interesting.
There's give and take to all those materials, and now that they're toying with a lot of new materials, there's things are going to get lighter, but and they make those. It's funny, they're lighter, but they're bigger. You like look at this barrel on this carbon fiber thing, and you go, "Ooh, that's like a bull barrel," but it's a lot lighter. And I know Brenton has their rifle coming out. I did that interview with Nick Carpenter, the owner over there, and they're working on a barrel right now that is carbon fiber and is it porcelain for an AR-15?
That seems scary.
Yeah, and they're saying they can do like multiple mag dumps and put your hand right in there and it's cold.
Yeah, I'm just thinking that I would break it.
Yeah. Well, if you want something broke, you should probably give it to me because I'm super good at it. I'm mean to things.
It's funny, like with that, like polymer stuff, and just talking about that. Do you find it like funny or like unfortunate or whatever? Do you feel like you're turning into like your parents or like that generation where you're like, I want it back the old way. Like, why do they keep changing stuff? Like,
on some stuff, and it was worse for me when I was younger. So, your internal temp is too high again, Adam.
Jeez, it's terrible.
It was worse for me when I was younger and working in the bow shop, and then making the switch when mechanical broadheads came out. Like that was super tough for me. It was tough to walk away. And I saw that comment that you made today on the text message thread about Thunderheads, and it's like Thunderhead was a tough thing for me to walk away from, man. Because
that's Uncle Frank.
It's because of guys like him, it was hard for me to turn away from it. I had the generation that was just above me, which is Uncle Frank. I'm looking to these guys, and these guys, the only thing you can use is a Thunderhead. And then, then show up with a doe that they got in the swamp, and somebody got it with the Thunderhead, and, Uncle Frank does hey, come here. Bring out a truck and go point right at it and go Thunderhead. So it was tough to make that switch, but then you realize that technology is surpassing, what the performance was of the old things. And I think that there's always that scary period where it's got to be tried and true. And when the new stuff hits the market, you go, I don't ever really want first generation of something. It's like I want second design.
So in the gun world, in the bullet world,
mm-hmm.
is as far as the hunting space, do you feel like bullets are the same as broadheads? At least the market, in the sense of it's the best thing or worst thing, like it's the worst industry to be in. I feel like because for the broadhead guy, they're either the best broadheads or they're the worst broadheads.
For sure.
But I feel like it may be different from a bullet sense because they're not reusable. So it's harder to blame the bullet on a non-recoverer because there's too many variables. You could get, you can shoot an animal 17 times, get it, and be like, God damn it, these bullets just didn't work.
Right.
but on something that wasn't recovered or, something like that, but how do you feel like bullets and broadheads are, you know,
It's
it
it's the
categorically?
same. It's the same. I think that you can recover your broadhead sometimes, and
More often than your bullet, I would say.
way more often than a bullet. But when you when you lose an animal, I would say with a bullet, depending on there's a lot of different configurations, right? And I think that when your bullet selection was not so critical, when everybody was using 30-06 for hunting deer and was using a Remington core lock that they got at Meyer, and it's like, do the 220s or the 180s, and like I'm loading them up the same, and throw the 220s if I'm hunting in the brush, or the 180s if I'm sitting in this field, and um, it was a lot less crucial bullet selection when you're hunting with those cannons of what everybody deer hunted with. And now that we're going down the road of smaller, lighter, faster, less recoil cartridges, I think the bullet selection matters a lot more. I mean, I've seen it with my ARC. And ARC being a new cartridge, I mean, the ARC stands for Advanced Rifle Cartridge. So that's Hornaday's new thing when they came out with the ARC line and the PRC line, and there weren't many bullets available. And I think that made it not good, but it was a nice flat shooting bullet, and they were making all these match grade bullets that were doing the job on paper but weren't necessarily doing the job on animals, and we had to wait for that transition period and those bullets to become available that were dumping the energy in the animal and then not just passing right through and putting a pencil hole in them. So,
I can't not say this. I wish I had my camera on so you could use a nice clip of this, but what you're saying there, like I think about like they like that old man in me, right? Says, why don't we go back to those old cartridges, right? Like,
sure.
why are we reinventing the wheel? And then beyond that, I'm saying, like, when you're saying, oh, we're just putting these holes in paper, these high speed things, right? ARC, at the time are people not saying that it's like the animal recovery challenge? like, like, like that. I mean, when you're saying, oh, this is what it stands for, and yet we had to wait for this technology to come out.
Yeah. So, and it's the way that it works, right? You develop a concept, and then you develop a cartridge, and then they had to take a 6.5 Grendel, and then they had to neck it down, and then put a 6 millimeter bullet in it. Develop all of that. They didn't develop a whole line of bullets. They developed a bullet, and when they got that bullet dialed in, it's like this super rad bullet, and yeah, it flies flat, and it flies fast, and it flies far.
Yeah, there's that clip. It's like, what do they call them? Dorks. Like, it's like, I mean, it's like, I think about that with like anything, like, 300 Blackout, I guess, like, is a Wildcat cartridge that has, like, is purpose built.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they needed a big, for all intents and purposes, practical cartridge that you could fully suppress.
Right.
And at least they left it in the same mags, use the same freaking bolt. You can blow up your barrel because everything fits and you forgot to swap it out. But at least, again, from that pragmatic standpoint, that makes sense. We have a problem. We're going to solve it. this other stuff is like, what if we did this? It's just like nerd bullet science.
Oh, it is. It
we
is
we
dork
we
out.
can't shoot these things far enough, fast enough. What if we did this? And like, I know that I was talking to you about it before, but like my cousin who was shooting the like 17 Remington, and they were talking about shooting them at 1,000 yards and having to like switch bullets because they were like just fragmenting. They were shooting so fast, like that they had to shoot. They couldn't shoot partition bullets or something because they were just shooting so fast. The bullets were just breaking apart before they got to the target. Like, seems unnecessary.
Yeah, no, for sure. I think they all have an application, and maybe it's killing paper, but like I don't know if you want a shotgun blast when you're out there 1,000 yards on a rifle bullet. But you know, I've got a 6 arc and I've got a 22 arc. I don't see a whole lot of difference in those, but I haven't stretched them out. So, I prefer my 6 arc. I shoot all my deer with a 6.5 Grendel in Michigan.
Just because.
Not for me, just because I use a 123 grain bullet out of my 6.5 Grendel. That thing is laser accurate. It's suppressed. I have had great success with it, and just the pinpoint accuracy. That's why I use it.
And again, back to the question: if that bullet that you're using, that 123 grain bullet, for whatever reason, were to fail you twice in a row, would it be the bullet's fault?
No, it would be what am I doing? Like, what am I doing? But I spend a lot of time behind the trigger. I can see where a guy who maybe gets something and really kills some paper and goes, I am deadly accurate with this thing, and needs to point out that failure point and it not be him. Like, I understand where we would be cracking on some of those bullets. But I've seen it. Like, I've seen it in the predator hunting world. I mean, I've got a block of 150 bullets sitting next to me that are actually going back to a guy. And I had a bad experience. So my hunting partner, my coyote hunting partner, hunts with the same ammo that I do, the same caliber, and we do that specifically because we hunt in the dark, and you know, things get weird. And I like the fact that he hunts with an arc, the same gun that I hunt with, and we've got tossable mags and interchangeable ammo. And we said, we're going to make this switch. So we grabbed a Hornady VMAX 58 grain, 3,356 feet per second. This guy makes them in Missouri. And all of our scopes record. So we're recording all of these shots, and I shot and hit the coyote, spun it around. Terry shot, hit the coyote, spun it the other way. This thing takes off, and we're going, yeah, it's done. I've seen it go down right at the edge of the woods. Then the coyote runs back out into the field, and we had to shoot it a third time. And then we headed over to your property, and that coyote took 3 bullets. and it's like, okay, this has become not fun. I'm not into wounding things. So,
was it an arc?
Yeah, that was a 6mm arc.
Animal recovery challenge?
Yeah, well, it wasn't a challenge, but it was a mess. We'll say that. And you call the guy that made these bullets and you go, hey, have you ever heard of this? And he goes, you guys got some devil coyotes up there. I have no idea, and we're going to get you on this new bullet. So we're waiting on the new batch of bullets to come. And he's loading some up and sending them our way, and I'm sending back these 58 grainers because I just haven't had success with them. Now, where the bullet was developed and where he's using it in Missouri, he's probably correct. He's got a different built coyote than what I'm hunting. And this was in the winter for me, so I'm at the full thickness of hide still and fat and things like that. And that's a lot to consider when you're, buying a bullet from Missouri, that those dogs might not be built the same way, and it's a small critter, and it's just not acting the way that he's seen. I sent him all my video footage. We kind of did a play-by-play of how things went down, and he goes, Skeet, I have no idea. He goes, I'm seeing your crosshairs. I'm watching you pull the trigger. That's a dead dog. And I go, it is, but it took two more. Have to have some uncomfortable conversations and go, I don't feel great about that. Like, I want to know when I pull the trigger that I'm stoning it. I'm dropping it. So yeah, that in that case, for me, it was the bullet, but it was verified by my buddy who was next to me, who was sending bullets too. And these things are all recorded, so we can analyze, what happened. And I'm not going to say, like, I have had ones where I've pulled the trigger and go, that's a dead dog, man. Where it's laying out there in the grass. And then it's recorded, go out there and there's nothing. And then get back, like, looking through my viewfinder going, I'm telling you, I killed it. I was right on. I was calm. The shot felt good. I was set in. I pulled the trigger. And then almost go, maybe it was the bullet. Maybe it was the bullet. I'm trying to find that excuse because I'm looking and it looks like my crosshairs are right there. And we get back to a computer, download the footage, pull it up on the screen and look, and what I couldn't see was since I'm shooting thermal, I can see the coyote coming at us, like charging through the grass, and I get him to stop. And I'm looking through about 6 foot of this long whippy grass to the coyote. I couldn't see that grass. Not through my viewfinder, but once I got it up on the screen, you can see it ghosted in there, and I go, yeah, that bullet never got to him. That could have been 8 foot to the right. There's zero chance that you hit that animal. But I was ready to blame something. So having the ability to go back and analyze that footage took away my excuse of the bullet and put it on something else. But if you don't have a bullet and you don't have it recorded and you can't analyze it, I can tell you that you're going to find something. And you get guys who blame broadheads and you get guys who blame bullets, because there's lots of people on the internet that will agree with you and validate your story that you weren't the jerk that, pulled the shot or put it in the wrong place, or if you would have slid 3 inches further this way, or the guy that goes, if you would have used this bullet, it'd be dead in its tracks. And it's like, there's a lot more variables than just the tip of the spear, man.
So they're the same.
Yeah, they're the same.
But they sell a lot more bullets than they do broadheads because
lot
you
more.
Can't recover.
That's it. Speaking of which, did you find me any 100 grains of those?
I have not.
Dang it.
I have not. You're just going to have to up your setup. Dude, my arrows for tack. I guess what grain arrows are you shooting?
500.
Okay. So mine are usually between like 454 and 525 for hunting. Like, I can't remember like where they're at right now. But so I bought some of those Ching Chong arrows.
Yep.
And I cut them down. They're like a 1/16 of an inch shorter than the ones that I had been shooting. No extra weight up front, 100 grain tips, zingers on the back. 383.
Oh my goodness.
I went from a number 45 tape to like 36.
Awesome.
They're quick.
Yeah, it sounds like it.
Yeah, I actually had to do the math. I haven't looked to see like actually what my bow is actually set at, but for 70 pounds rather, it's like 5.3 grains per inch.
Okay.
Which 5 is like safe.
Yeah, kind of.
It doesn't sound like.
Is it loud as shit?
It doesn't sound loud.
Okay.
Which I was happy about. So that makes me feel like there's still room. But, and I shot it through paper. Just the way that it is, I got a little bit of a left tear. I couldn't get it out with the rest. Yeah, it was. So I thought, worst case scenario is I'll throw some 125 grain heads on there and make it a little safer.
Right.
But that'll just
how
weaken
far
the
have you
spine.
shot it?
60.
60?
Yeah. And it was.
I just feel it. Are you going to shoot the 100-yard targets and that kind of stuff, or?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Last year we shot them. I'm bringing the trad bow. Last year we shot we're shooting like 60, 80 yards with the trad bow.
Wonderful.
We were shooting like absolute dog shit, but one of the last targets, there was a bunch of guys sitting around. We walked up on them and they're like, "Oh my God, yeah, you guys are shooting trad bows," like blah blah blah. And there was 12 of us. We were sweeping the course. We were the last group, and I got up there. I was like 60 some yards. I, do the old Sparta. The Uncle Frank, that ought to do it. And right in the insert, at 60 downhill, 60 something downhill, they're like, "Oh my God, how'd you do that?" And I was like, "I have no idea." Just dumb luck.
That's
but
awesome.
It was in front of half a dozen Nate guys or something. They're like, "Oh my God." I was just as excited as they were. It happens all the time.
So because we don't get to podcast together very often, but and before we get off of this one, I will tell you, have you ever heard the Uncle Frank story when they used to shoot those does and they would do the Tarzan yell?
I don't think so.
Okay. Well, you'll have to ask him. It's one of his buddies, and I can't remember. Terry could probably tell you exactly who it was, but him and his buddy, they were no communications because, of course, didn't have any back then. It's like going to go hunt. And he said, "Well, if you shoot one, just do the Tarzan yell. So, from the tree, and I'll know you shot one." So Uncle Frank had a doe come out, and it was on his off hand, so he couldn't turn around. So he said he took the bow and then put his arms around the tree to pull the bow back with the tree in between, and looked on this side and said, "That should be good," and let it go and shot that deer, and Tarzan screamed across the swamp to get his buddy to come. Yeah. You have to ask him about it. It's a super involved, long story, but it has to be told in Uncle Frank style.
Yeah. Well, the "How about them lions, that ought to do it" story is right up there too.
Yeah, that's it. That ought to do it. So, Adam, I appreciate you coming on the podcast, brother. I think I will amend one thing. I will amend my AR pistol 10.5 inch to 11.5 is what's suggested.
Yeah.
11.5 to 12.5 to get all your powder burned. So I'll amend that to 11.5. I think I have a 10.5, so that'll probably drone into my brain later. So, but I do appreciate you doing a podcast with me, and not even just doing it with me. You're a great host even on my podcast, so I appreciate that.
Yeah. Like I said, I enjoy, these are the kind of conversations that I have with my brothers about guns and whatnot, because, just because I don't really gun hunt doesn't mean that I don't like guns.
Right. Well, so. And the way to get to go gun hunting, you should probably come out coyote hunting with me. I may have a buddy gun set up that you could probably look through.
All right. Well, you got my number.
Yeah, and we might have to go test some things out because as of Friday, I was approved for a new can. So I have to go pick that up this week. And ATF said, you're more than welcome to take that home now. So
Gotta
I
love
want to
that.
do an unboxing and put this thing on a Christensen and break a Christensen in. And yeah, it's going to be fun. So might have to, I'm going out by your house because gotta be part of the old Twin Lake Gun Club. So
Well, let me know when you do that because I'm just down the road.
yep, absolutely. So appreciate you, brother. We will talk very soon.
All right. Sounds good. Thanks.
See ya.